Yesterday, I visited the front line of the invasion of Britain, the illegal migrant crisis in northern France. Talk to people here. Oh, so we've just had an object thrown at us. Let's just have a little look at that. So that's an object that's just been thrown at us from somewhere over there. It was an eye-opening experience, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you. As soon as we arrived, we found a migrant boat just moored up, ready to carry illegals over to Britain. Here's some footage that we didn't manage to play you last night. So, next to a rucksack of the possessions of someone that, well, was clearly at one point on that boat anyway, those possessions included things like an empty wallet. They also included things which like items of clothing, all of that stuff. I found all of this. I think I'm just going to have to open this. It's an inner tube. So, if you give me a second, I'll just open this. Okay, so they inflate these and then put them around themselves and use them as a life jacket. And in here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know what? Look at this. Look at this. Look at all of this. So this gives you an indication about how many people they were expecting to put on that boat there and get it out into the channel. OK, so initially we found that boat and there was quite a funny incident where the gendarmerie pulled up and asked us what we were doing. I'd never come into contact with the gendarmerie before, so I wasn't sure exactly how to play it. So I was just really honest with them. And then I said, well, we'll go away and leave the boat here, assuming that they were just going to walk up to it and slash it. But no, sadly, they did not do that. So we thought they weren't doing anything. What are we getting for our money here in Britain? We've sent the French something like £1 billion to do absolutely naffle when it comes to stopping the boat crossings. But a little bit later on, we decided to go and check back in on that boat. And I can report that the French did actually do something. But they are slashing that boat now. So, it is proof that the French do actually do something with our money, to be fair, isn't it? That boat has been slashed. Well, that made a nice change because they're doing absolutely nothing to stop this. I have never seen anything like this in my life. Wow. Hello, everybody. It's tense everywhere. This is going to sound awful to people who are just watching. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone who's here, but the smell is absolutely overpowering. You've got people on top of each other. Yeah, okay. It's just an unbelievable setting, that. An absolutely unbelievable setting. You've got the port of Calais on one side of it. You've got a lorry park on the other. One thing that stood out to me, and I want to really emphasise this, is what the local French population now consider to be normal as a result of the migrant crisis. OK, so that was a major supermarket at a bus stop between Calais and Dunkirk. And what you saw in that 30-second snapshot there was migrants who had just been bussed in. They then go into the supermarket. They either steal or buy food and booze. There are police officers with just huge, aggressive dogs just wandering around a supermarket. You imagine that in Tesco's. You just go in Tesco's, Alsatians everywhere, ready to eat your face. Well, the French are all right with that, apparently. And the fields all around that supermarket there are just migrant camps. The main road is just a caravan of illegal immigrants. And the French have got so used to it that it seems that they just accept it. Do we want that to happen here in Britain? Because I'm telling you, that's the way it's going. I don't want to live my life like that. Another thing that stood out to me was how deluded I think many of the aid workers are. Here is one bloke I spoke to who, frankly, just genuinely did not seem too bothered about the idea that some aid workers are unwittingly helping to import potential murderers, rapists and paedophiles.
Random guess, how many paedophiles do you think you've got here?
Well, you don't know.
No, you don't know. That's what I'm saying.
But,
is you don't
but
know.
That's the point. Neither do you, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah. I'm hoping that maybe what we'll be able to do is put that full interview on for GBN members or something like that. But another observation is the people heading our way have been through, in many cases, around 7 or 8 other countries. Could I ask, what countries have you been through? Germany? You come through Germany? Yeah. Where else? Bulgaria, Germany, any others? Any other country to get here?
I come from Turkey to Bulgaria.
Yep.
After Serbia. After
Hungary. Austria.
Germany.
Yep. 6. To France. That's 7 countries.
Yeah.
So whatever reason they haven't made a life for themselves in those nations, those 7 or 8 countries, or perhaps they were rejected for asylum. So that means, doesn't it, that we are now getting the dregs of the world. Another reality is that British people voted for Brexit to take back control of our borders. Illegals who are fingerprinted in places like Bulgaria fear that they will be sent back there under the Dublin Agreement. The migrants think that Britain is impossible to be deported from. By far and away, the biggest takeaway is that they think Britain is a land paved with gold. Do you think that they give you money in England?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, but I think they are give me England. They are give me money. You can help me anything. I can need. Okay.
Why should English people pay for you to have a house?
Maybe they give me house. They give me anything I can need. They give me.
So, why aren't we telling them that there is nothing for them here? We need to be proactive. Send people to those camps and tell everyone that there is nothing for them in Britain. Why is it only the likes of Care for Calais and these random, in some cases quite nutty aid workers that are operating in these camps? Why haven't we got representatives of Britain there to say, look, there is nothing for you in Britain? The fact is, every single illegal migrant in northern France is there only because they want to come to Britain. They're all going to try. I suspect they will all get in. I'd like Sir Keir Starmer to go to where I went yesterday and just tell me which ones he'd like living next door to him. Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? What about random calls? It's really annoying, isn't it? Data brokers are out there collecting your personal information. Anything from your email, your full name, your address, and even your political affiliation. Cyber criminals can even use AI to mimic the voices of friends and family to trick people into sending them money. And it gets even worse. People out there are getting huge loans taken out in their names without even knowing about it. But don't worry, because the sponsor of this video, Incogni, can help. They reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information is removed from their databases. Incogni continues to make sure that your data is removed automatically from the internet via repeated removal requests. So, how can you get started? Well, step 1, hit the link in the description. Create an Incogni account and tell us whose data you'd like removed. Step 2, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf. Step 3, sit back, relax, and watch Incogni work. They will update consistently so you know when your data has been removed. Incogni is risk-free for 30 days, so you can try it for yourself and you'll get a free refund if the service isn't for you. So take back your personal data today with Incogni. Use the code GBNews using the link in the description below and you'll get 60% off an annual payment plan. Let's get the thoughts of my panel, Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, activist and landlord Adam Brooks, and, of course, as well, we've got broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Right, Mark, the problem is clearly utterly vast. They're all on the way to Britain. They're probably all going to get in. I mean, do we just have to be doing a bit of proactive negative PR about Britain here? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I roughly agreed with your solution, but of course if we're going to tell them that their prospects of getting into the UK and staying here are somewhere approaching zero, that needs to be true. These people have correctly calculated the odds, I would say, and what we've actually got to do is to make sure that their odds calculation changes based on fact. I mean, we could go and leaflet them saying it's not true, but would they believe us? The truth of the matter is you can get in here relatively easily, but these people will be making a very rational mathematical calculation. What's my chance of making it? There's obviously a risk of death crossing the channel in a small boat. If I get there, what's my chance of remaining? What's my chance of a hotel room? And the answer to all of those questions at the moment is the risk is probably worth it. We've got to tilt those odds.
Another big standout for me was the normality with which the French public see all of this. So, you've got this thing of people being bussed in, illegal migrants being bussed in, police officers with dogs, migrants coming out with shopping trolleys full of booze and just being stopped by the massive dog and having to put it on the floor because they've obviously nicked it before they go back down there. That's just like going to Tesco's for the locals. I don't want that over here.
We've had locals and we've had local officials tell us about machete wars and gunshots being let off by these people around Dunkirk and Calais. You probably had the best protection ever yesterday, which was a camera.
Absolutely. 100%.
OK, so that they don't want to highlight
100%.
What's happening. If you didn't have the camera, some of those situations would have turned violent, in my opinion. We've got people from Sudan and Eritrea. I watched a lot of that. These are places where, no disrespect, you could see a severed head on the side of a road. These people are desensitised to aggression and to violence. And all of these people in these camps will end up here and we will deport none of them. At the end of the day, Labour is making a huge song and dance about getting rid of 24,000 people. These are mostly like Vietnamese overstayers, Brazilians that have overstayed on their visa. They are getting rid of none of these.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are dangerous and are going to make Britain a worse place.
Yeah, Nina, look, I spoke to a lot of people yesterday, and a lot of them are very nice, don't get me wrong. I think I spoke to maybe one or two lads, who I thought stood a chance of contributing if they came to Britain. The rest of them I thought were destined for benefits. Why do we want to introduce all of that, do you think?
Well, there are several things wrong with the situation. First of all, there should be places where they can be processed, say in France or in their own country. We haven't got that at the moment. The trouble is that you cannot turn off a tap instantly. Keir Starmer, as far as I can tell, is doing your jaw. As soon as I mentioned Keir Starmer, your jaw started flicking.
Triggered him.
Bloody hell.
I know what you're going to say, Nina, and I'm just going to be shaking my head.
No, I'm going to say, the thing is, what we needed to do was going to... He's gone, you know.
It's all right, go on, get it out.
So Keir Starmer is... I understand it, is trying to make better relations with France. Now, Macron and his wife are coming here for a state visit. That's not just a kind of, let's have the French here. So he's got a good relationship with Meloni. The King and Camilla went to Rome. OK, so he's trying to get a better deal.
Domestic
No.
Can I just put this to you, Mark? Sorry, but can I just put this to you? I asked a load of those people. So there was a guy from Kuwait who had tattoos everywhere and all of this stuff. And I spoke to one of the Sudanese individuals and someone else as well, I think from Afghanistan. And I said to them, OK, so let's say you get to Britain and you're told you can't stay and you're going home. What do you do? And they all said, we'd just go, you're not sending me back.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, but some of the situations, what Adam is talking about, severed heads on the road, they don't want their own head to be severed in the middle of the bloody...
One second.
Many of them are fleeing...
Our immigration policy cannot be that we would let in any human being who would have a better life in Britain.
Exactly.
Because this would be about 5 or 6 billion people across the world.
Well, I understand
so it has to be an enormously stricter test than that. If the criteria is you would have a better life here in Britain than where you're from, then, we're going to get a lot more than a million people a year. We're going to get hundreds of millions.
That.
So we've got to work out what the criteria is. And what the government's got to do is, I'm not against, obviously, the Prime Minister talking to President Macron or Maloney or the King going to Italy, but we've got to change our domestic settings. The Labour Party initially said we're going to get rid of asylum hotels. That's been buried.
Sorry, I want to get this with Mark, and then I'll bring you two on something else. But I was really keen to ask you about this. So there were a few of them that were saying to me they were quite clued up, they thought, on the Dublin Agreement. So they'd been through places like Bulgaria or Serbia or whatever, and that they'd had their fingerprints taken and things. And that they were, if they were caught or picked up by police in any other EU country, they would be sent back to their first state. We, as a result of leaving the European Union, are now not in the Dublin Agreement. So is that something that Brexiteers should reflect on?
Yes, I mean, what happened with Brexit is it does allow you to take back control, but it does not mean that you are going to use that control wisely. So our immigration policy, and whether we want to fingerprint people or whatever else, is in our own hands, and we have made a complete pig's ear of it.
Well,
so
Boris Johnson. It was Boris Johnson.
This is quite important because a lot of so-called lefties are on X and on social media will go, oh, it's all Brexit's fault. No, the timing is very similar to the time when we left the European Union. This is a worldwide migrant problem. They would have come anyway. The Dublin Agreement was used a handful of times, and it was hardly used because there could never be an agreement. I think it was only used maybe to send back 80 people or something like this. So when the left try and say that we can't put them back because of the Dublin Agreement, that's absolutely not true.
We've got powers we haven't used.
The thing is, with Brexit, Boris Johnson failed to get a proper deal, failed to address the Dublin Agreement situation, failed, and from 2019 to 2024, immigration quadrupled. That's under the Tories. That's under Boris Johnson.
Germany and France too. This is not a Brexit problem.
It is a Brexit problem.
If it was a Brexit problem, why has Germany got millions of them?
Because they opened their borders deliberately under Angela Merkel.
You can blame Boris, but you can't blame Brexit.
You can blame Boris and you can blame Brexit.
Fine. OK, all right. Well, there we go. Well, look, there's... keep your eyes peeled, I think, for things like GBN Originals and a couple of other aspects of our website as well, because there'll be some longer clips of some interviews that I did there that haven't made it onto television so far. But thank you very much, everybody who was watching.